Hey everyone, and welcome to the webinar today. Looks like we got everyone piling in. We also got Nayo Carter-Gray with us. She is the virtual firm expert, like we like to say. Excited to have her today to talk about this awesome topic and how you can automate your virtual accounting firm.
And as everyone's piling in, we're going to do, everybody's favorite thing, where you're coming from in the chat, what state and city.
Come on, let's see. We got some people in Atlanta, Georgia. That's where I'm at right now.
I'm in Baltimore, Maryland. So it's a little rainy here today, not too sunny. It's kind of depressing since it's like summer already. And it's kind of cold here today. So it's really funny that it's this far in the year and the weather decides to take a turn for the worst, but it's all good.
It looks like our chat is disabled, so you guys will have to drop it in the Q&A. We'll see if we can. I don't know if you're able to see if there's a way to enable the chat while we're live on this call, but go ahead and drop it in the Q&A for now. We do have someone from Atlanta. James, welcome. St. Louis. Okay, we'll be in St. Louis next week for Scaling New Heights. Anyone else going to that?
Hey, Deidre. Mama D's on here. She's in Maryland. All right, we got some good cities in here. Some Florida, California. Oh, I see Kay Renee in here as well. Yay.
Charlotte, North Carolina. Okay.
We got Canada's representing too. So we're now international. All right, so I like getting started on time. Sharam is going to pop off, so you will see him disappear from your screens, and you'll see my beautiful face probably for the next 40 or so minutes. And then we will do a live demo, actually diving into Financial Sense, so you get to see it up close and personal. And Sharam will be here to answer any technical questions that I can't answer. I am a new user, so just like you all, I was curious. Tell me all about Financial Sense. How can we start using it in our firm? And what the heck can it do to make my life easier? So I am going to start sharing my screen here. And we've been through enough of these Zooms. I'm pretty sure if you can't see my screen, you will let me know. But I know you can see it. I see the little green bubble around the screen now. So welcome, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nayo Carter-Gray. I am the owner and founder of First Step Accounting, where we make accounting a little less taxing for small business owners all across the U.S., and we are located in Baltimore, Maryland. We are a virtual firm that handles accounting, tax prep, as well as some education services for our small business owners. And we tend to work with what I call my hustlepreneurs. They're typically going from full-time employment to full-time entrepreneurship, and we kind of aid them along in that journey. So I am a very tech-focused, tech-centric firm. I am a big fan of automation. So I was super excited when Financial Sense asked me to help out with this webinar series today. So let's get started. So whether or not you're managing a solo practice or a large firm, building workflows is really going to be the key to ensuring that your profits are being maximized and your resources aren't being wasted. So according to a market research firm called IDC, they say that organizations lose 20 to 30% of revenue every single year due to inefficient processes. So we want to make sure one thing that we're doing as we're growing our firms is really creating these standard operating processes that can be duplicated and repeated as the firm continues to grow and get bigger. So in addition to saving lost revenue, the benefits of maintaining some efficient workflows include things like having those systems and processes that can be duplicated and replicated, better transparency into the actual work that's being done, and clearly defined roles. People like to know what they're supposed to be doing and who is responsible for it. And overall, a happier workforce. I don't know if any of you have a team or you've worked in an organization and it felt, the people at the top didn't really know what the heck was going on and you didn't know what to do. pretty sure you didn't stay at that place of employment too long because you didn't like that feeling. So having those efficient workflows really helps with the workforce. It helps retain them longer. And we all know that there are pipeline issues in play now. So efficiency is also important if you want to run a scalable firm. So some of you may or may not be thinking about this, but in the long term, if you decide you want to do something like sell your practice, if you're running a very efficient firm, it makes the business that more attractive. So what the heck are we going to do today? First thing we're going to do is really outline what a workflow is, talk about it. We're going to decide we're going to decide what to delegate, automate, or to eliminate altogether from that workflow. And then we are going to take a peek inside of Financial Sense so you can learn how to manage those workflows. So let's start with outlining the workflow. So having your steps mapped out really allows you to open your eyes to the bottlenecks in your processes. You can start seeing where you're inefficient or where you're using your resources, and you really can start discovering where you are not following the own rules that you've set up for your firm. You literally get to see the money that's being thrown out the window. And I don't know about you, but I hate wasting money. So I like to make sure our processes are tight, so we're maximizing our resources. Now, I like to nail this one because defining a process, I personally like to put things in buckets. So there are generally 7 stages to a process workflow. And we're going to cover what those stages are. So stage 1 is really managing those leads. So how are people going to find you? Then we kind of dive into the actual scoping and discovery. So this is where you're going to assess what the work is that client needs from you. Then we're going to talk about actually closing the sale. How the heck are you going to get paid for the work you're about to do? Then invoicing and pricing. So this is where you set the correct price. And this is where your customer pays you if you get paid in advance of doing the work. Then we talk about onboarding. And so this is really bringing your clients into the process so that they understand what your responsibility is as well as theirs. Then we talk about actually managing the workflow. And this is doing the work. So who's going to perform what duties and who's managing those deadlines. And then the last phase in this workflow process is renewals and disengagements. And we don't really talk enough about, how the process ends, and I do think we need to spend a little bit more time about it. But is the process one of those annual processes where at the end the service is over, or is it a repeatable, duplicatable service that just continues until the world ends? Part of this process is really understanding that as well. Today, however, we are going to spend a bunch of time really digging into managing the workflow. And like I said, we are going to demo Financial Sense so you can actually see how to do this in their platform. Now, this may sound really silly, but it is necessary in order to help you identify every single touch point in a service offering. You need to know every single detailed step. And this is going to be a workshop today. So I know some of you like to sign up for these webinars, turn them on, and then do something else. Well, today we're actually going to do some work. Part of what I want you to achieve today is to kind of start off with a framework for one of the services that you're offering in your practice, so you can start discovering whether the process is bloated. Are there too many steps? Is the process light? Do you need to add some additional steps? Is there room for improvement? So we're going to start this by outlining a process. And I like to, I like my facts and figures. You all are numbers people too. So there was a study by Unit 4 that revealed that globally office workers are spending 69 days a year on admin tasks. And that comprises about $5 trillion a year for companies worldwide. So I mentioned earlier that I like to make sure we're efficient. I don't want to throw money out the window. So just imagine eliminating 69 days of admin tasks off your plate. That is more than 2 months worth of work. So today we're going to take about 3 minutes just to outline one service offering in your practice. And we're going to keep it simple. So just open like a Word document, or if you have a pen and paper handy, just pull out that piece of pen and paper and let's get to write. So I'm going to start this timer. So you have 3 minutes to get some work done. And while you all are working, I'm going to see if there are any questions that I can answer. I see a question in here about whether or not this webinar is being recorded. It absolutely is being recorded. So hopefully you can share this with your staff after it's over. I also see that you're asking for the slideshow. So yes, we will get you the slides after this is all over. Why is this acting crazy? Okay, there we go.
I thought I joined back in while we wait for the timer to count down. I love how you set the timer, right? To kind of like give yourself a constraint of just getting that information out of your head onto like a piece of paper, because I feel like a lot of people, when we help them with the workflows, it's easy to overthink it, right? And it kind of forces you to go down and really just focus on what matters the most, right? And at least just taking those first steps and laying that foundation, which is great.
Yeah, and in my firm, I try to do this at least once a year, and we choose one service that's probably either the most financially lucrative or the one that's stressing either myself or my team out, so that we can, make it better and easier for everyone. And the first year I did this, I stepped into the client's perspective of how we go through a tax prep automation. And so that's what we're going to cover today. So you'll see how I came up with my steps, and then where we found some automations to make life a whole lot easier. But a lot of people on this call handle taxes, or you're doing monthly bookkeeping. There's always some room for improvement, but in order to improve, you have to really know what it is that you're doing in order to automate, eliminate, or delegate, as how I like to look at this process.
It's very true, and it's so important that you revisit a lot of your processes every year too, because like a lot of people think sometimes you have to get it perfect the first time, which again is sometimes why a lot of firms struggle to document their processes, because you try to maybe do too much in the beginning, and it's okay if it's not perfect. But even if it is perfect, your firm grows, your clients grow, and your processes change, or new opportunities with new technology. So it's so important to think of it as like a living and breathing thing that you constantly revisit, because there's especially with AI, right? In the last year, there's a lot of cool apps out there now that can help automate, like with categorizing transactions, right? If you do bookkeeping, and that can save your firm time and just make everything more efficient.
And efficiency is one of my favorite words. It is. I just don't like being overwhelmed. So, this is also key to eliminating that overwhelm, because it's really easy to fall victim to, I got to do this, and not really know what the heck you're really supposed to be doing, because you haven't really outlined all the things. Okay, 3 minutes is up. Hopefully everybody here has had a moment to like sit down and write out some stuff and you're all set and ready to go. This is hilarious. Okay, so I mentioned that we were going to cover my tax prep process. And this is what it looked like the very first time that I wrote it out. There were 20 steps. And I went through just at a high level and tried to really figure out where we could adjust a little bit. So what I want you to do now is take a minute, look at your list. Is there anything on your list that recurs? Anything on that list that can be delegated, eliminated, or automated? More than likely, some of these tasks can be streamlined using some of these apps and software like me and Sharon were just talking about. And I'm going to show you how you can do a couple of the tasks on my list using Financial Sense. And then really the goal here is to start looking for ways to eliminate manual data entry because, you know, with automation, it helps eliminate certain mistakes that can be costly. So, you know, adding the extra zero on stuff, we don't want to do that, right? Because that could make or break a business, your relationship with your client. So take just a moment, brief moment, see if there's anything on a high level that fits one of those three buckets: automate, eliminate, or delegate. And I'm going to show you where my eyes were drawn to these 5 things from my list, which was the potential client calls when they call my office and they're told how to schedule an appointment. I instantly thought, why do I have to be the person that answers the phone? I really don't have to be. And so what I did was hire an answering service, and they answer all the calls for me, or they schedule the appointments. Then it was the client signing an engagement letter, paying that deposit, and filling out that organizer. Well, we created an online form that has all 3 of those steps in one. So now it avoids some friction for my clients because they're just going to one place. It's all in one step, and I'm getting paid before we start the work. Then a project being added to our project management system as a to-do. We could automate that by using templates. We didn't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. And I can't wait to show you what that looks like in Financial Sense. And then requesting documents from clients. Well, for the most part, we request the same documents over and over and over again. So why don't we have a standardized list of what those documents are? And then lastly, meeting with clients to answer questions about the tax return if it was required. Now, I wanted to figure out really quickly how we could avoid that meeting because I don't know about you all, but meetings make me itch. I like to, if I'm going to a meeting, have an agenda, and I want that meeting to be over in like 10 minutes. I feel like every single meeting can be completed in 10 minutes. And I know people think I'm crazy when I say that, but if you sit through an hour-long meeting, most of the time you look at that meeting and say, this could have been an email. Am I right or am I wrong? All right, so how the heck do we delegate, automate, or eliminate? So here's some rule of thumb here. Start by defining who's responsible for every single step of your process. I know that sounds difficult and it sounds hard, but really understanding who is taking responsibility for each of the tasks on that list will really aid you in not only understanding or growing your practice, but really creating those SOPs or those standard operating procedures that will continue to be reiterated as the business continues to grow. And at some point, you may want to step away from the work. You need to be able to say, this role is going to step in and do this piece of it. And so this really, really helps when you have clearly defined who is responsible. I talked about this before. Which of these tasks are repetitive? Do they repeat themselves? Is there any way they can be outsourced or automated? And this is my favorite part, really kind of digging in to see if there are any tasks that we could, automate using some of the apps that we use. And, I know so many apps out there, and you're like, how do I choose the right one? Well, first off, you have to know what it is that you're trying to get the app to do. So once you start outlining this process, really honing in on, I need the app to be able to do steps 1, 2, 3, will help you narrow down your choices. And when you're searching for them on the internet or asking, your friends and your colleagues for a referral for an app, or even when you go to these conferences, like we'll be at Scaling New Heights next week, understanding, looking at this task, you're like, I need an app that can do this. Now, specifically, you know what you're looking for, because I don't know if you've ever been to a conference, but there are hundreds of vendors in that vendor room, and you can easily get overwhelmed. And I know some of you just go to collect the swag, which is fun too, but we want to go in with a purpose by really understanding what we are trying to automate here. And then I mentioned it before, but spend some time actually researching the apps so that you know specifically what you're looking for. Sometimes you can find an app that can do multiple things on your list, which helps cut down cost. If your app can not only do project management, but also allow you to view your email inside the app, it sounds like it could be a winner, because it's like a one-stop shop. You don't have to go, to 15 different apps to do, 2 different things. So I know that we sometimes get very overwhelmed with a lot of tech, but if you start with the process, it helps you narrow down your app choices so that you can hone in on those apps that are really going to deliver what it is that you need. All right. Boom, bada bang. Oh, we are getting through this kind of quickly here. I love it. That means we get to really spend a lot of time inside a financial sense, because we kind of work through the process of this automation really quickly. Now, before we dive in, I want to see if there are any questions in the Q&A, and I'll answer those before we start the live demo. And I do see one here. How do I overcome the overwhelm of learning new efficiency apps? That's your struggle. So you just keep doing things the less efficient way because it's what you know and what you're comfortable with. So to answer that question, one way I get over the fear is really kind of looking at an app and trying to understand what it is that we're trying to solve for. So for example, when I went through my tax process, and, I was like, how can we have clients fill out a form and pay all at the same time? Because, that just seems inefficient to me to send my clients 3 different things to try to get paid, to fill out a form, to have them sign. It's like, how can we do this all in one? And I found a forms builder called Cognito Forms. And what I did was really take my time to kind of understand what it was that I was trying to achieve. And I spent about a week building this form. And then I tested it. And I always test all my things from the client perspective, because I want to know what they're going to see. As I am very tech centric and I love my tech, but some of my clients are not. So I need to understand what their struggles are going to be from the onset. So back to the form, I filled it out, saw the output, and then learned all of the other things that it could do. Like it connected with ShareFile, my client portal, or, I could connect it to Zapier and be able to just, have that form automatically download somewhere, sending a client a copy of it, collecting those payments. And so then I got excited about it because I just knew it was going to help me in the long run, because that was like part of the source of my frustration during tax season. It's like, I have to manage these multiple things. Did the client sign? I don't know. Did they fill out an organizer? I don't know. So I wanted to figure out a way to, understand and know all from the jump. And so I did spend, like I said, about a week, and I did it the week of Christmas. I always take that week off, and I use that as my brainstorming time, because things are slow during that period. Find a week that's slow for you. Could be summer months right now where people are on vacation or dealing with graduation and going on and all that kind of jazz. And so you might take a couple of days and say, here's the process that we want to improve. And, really look at it and say, it would be nice if we could eliminate this thing. And as you're starting to go to these conferences, or if you have a little free time while you're on the couch watching TV, just Google, is there an app that does whatever that blank is? And there usually is a list of apps that will come up. And personally, the way I review apps is I will go directly to their pricing page to look at the pricing that they offer, because usually they have the features listed out right then and there. Makes it easy for me to understand how much it's going to cost me and what I'm getting for my money. And then I can kind of narrow down my top 3 choices from there. So hopefully, Julie, that answers your question. If it doesn't, let me know, because I have absolutely no problem answering questions. As you can see, I'm a talker. All right. No more questions? Okay. We're just rocking and rolling over here. All right. No more questions. Let's dig into financial sense. And because we have so much time, we will get to spend a bunch of time in here seeing all the features, which I know a lot of you have signed up for so that you can see them. I'm going to go ahead to the project. All right. So we do have financial sense up. I'm just going to open up a couple more files really quickly. And I know it disappeared. Don't worry. I'm coming right back. Bada boom, bada bing. So I like to have some files open just so that I can easily get to information, so that I can show you all the fun things about our process with taxes, and how I helped myself and my team really understand what it was that we were trying to accomplish this year. So 2023, our goal was to provide better customer service, as well as to get our turnaround time reduced for tax prep. So here's a real fact for you. I looked at my numbers from last year, and on average, it took us almost 8 weeks to get a tax return from start to finish out the door. I didn't like that number. So I was destined, I was set upon changing it this year. So the goal this year was to get it down to 3 weeks. And guess what, y'all? We did it. And that's because I took a look at the process and used some new tools to help me really turn around that turnaround time. So financial sense, we're in our company ABC Bookkeeping. If you are like, I don't know how to get started, what the heck do I do? First things here, I'm going to show you one thing I was super impressed with when I first started using Financial Sense. Is there is a series of tutorial videos for you. You will never be lost on how to do something in Financial Sense. When you sign up, this automatically is on your screen. But if ever you forget how to do something, there is a handy button here on your, I'm going to spotlight on the menu here for tutorial videos. So if you ever forget how to do something, bada boom, bada bang, they got you covered. All right, so here's some really fun tips here. We're in workflows. First thing you normally want to do is set up your clients. You have the ability to create clients by integrating with QuickBooks Online, so it can automatically pull in all your clients if you wanted to. You can upload a spreadsheet. So if you have all of your clients listed out in a spreadsheet format with name and company information, you can upload, but there's also a sample file that you can download to create that, or you can manually enter the information. So here's the basic information you need to get started for this particular client: display name, a contact name, an email address, and a phone number. And as you see, you only need the display name to get started. So it's no excuse why it takes you so long to get started. But once you have that information, you can kind of dive into using Financial Sense as a hub for all things client related information. So you have a place for contacts. You can add additional information about the client. So if you wanted to put in some context, like Nayo's favorite color is blue, there is a notes you can put in here. You can add a client ID, a phone number, social security number if you wanted to have that in here. The entity type. In my firm, we use the entity type a lot because I need my team to understand who we're serving, because that will let them know the level of service that's required. For example, if we have a corporation as a client versus an individual, they're not going to get the same tax return. So as my team are looking, they can say, oh, this is blank and blank corporation. We will need an 1120 for them. And that we possibly could also upsell them for 1040 services for their shareholders. Contract renewal dates. This just came up yesterday. We're still getting emails for clients we no longer work with. My admin coordinator was able to go in Financial Sense and say, oh, we're not working with this client anymore. We don't have to update them about this particular email that we got. So just use this information to your advantage. Having it in one place for my team has made things so much smoother and easier, because my team doesn't now have to come to me and ask questions, because we're utilizing this client hub a lot. You can add relationships. So if there are other people connected to the organization, they can be added here. You can create client groups. So for those of you who provide, accounting as well as tax services, you can create a group for those additional services if you like. You can manage who's assigned to the client. So if you do have a large staff and you don't want them to see all of the clients, you can assign them clients and make sure they can only see this information for clients they're actively working on. So I love that because, I'm big on cybersecurity, and I am a big fan of not giving people access to stuff that they don't need. Once you have projects coming up, you will see those projects right here on this dashboard, and then you can add any notes. So like I mentioned, that whole Nayo's favorite color is blue. Like, I like to cyber stalk some of my clients and find out things about them, because it makes when I go to give gifts during the holiday season, it makes it easy. I can just say, oh, I knew that they were eyeing this thing, or their favorite store is this. They told me that their child is turning a such and such an age, and I can get them a gift or something like that. So I don't know, is anybody else doing all that, or am I the only one that is just being extra here? All right. I see some stuff in the chat. Okay, with something like SOPs for various tasks to be stored in the notes or documents, what do you suggest as best practices? That's a great question. And what we do in our relationships, we do have we add in our about section, we have two distinct documents that we additionally add. One is client communication. So I created a Google Doc, and basically whenever we talk to the client, not an email, it's more about like phone calls and meetings. Either myself or my team will write up a recap and add it to that client doc, and whoever has access to it can click it right from this from the client hub here. And I put our monthly review notes for our bookkeepers so that when they're going through their monthly review, we can always see what the prior month's review notes were so that we can start training a little bit better and eliminating and avoiding any of those, common errors that we see reoccurring. But they do live right here in this client hub. And then I also have like some SOPs for special things that come up for like individual clients. So we do have a standard operating procedure for bookkeeping services, but every single client has one or two unique things that we need to make sure we're aware of. And I do keep those right here in this hub. It just makes it so simple for the person who's responsible for the work to be able to access it all in one place. All right, so Client Hub. All right, I see another question here in the Q&A. Is there a time entry and tracking system integrated? That's a good one. Yes, there are time entries that you can make here, and I'll show you exactly where they are as we get to the projects. So next up is projects. I'm going to put my spotlight back on. Now that we have the client all set up, we can go ahead and set up a project. Now, one thing I want to do is start off with a template because, as you all know, I don't like reinventing the wheel. So if I invent it one time, I want to be able to duplicate that system for every single client. So when you start with Financial Sense, there are some templates that you can set up, but we want to create a new template. Guess what's a brand new spanking feature this year that is pretty darn nifty? You can use AI to create a template. Can we say what? I know you all have heard of ChatGPT by this point. So if you haven't used it, just know you got a little bit of AI magic sprinkled right here in Financial Sense. You don't necessarily have to go set up a new account with with ChatGPT. But what this will do is create a template using AI, and you can get real descriptive with these templates. You can say, I want a monthly bookkeeping with QuickBooks, and you can generate the template and it'll give you some tasks. We're going to give it a whole second to upload here. Look at this. We have about 8 steps that you didn't have to manually type out. You can adjust these, you can customize and adjust these steps if they don't fit your firm. But it's really easy and breezy to kind of start thinking about how can I use AI to automate setting up our workflow in Financial Sense. So this was a good one. I needed a workflow for a tax return for a married couple filing jointly who own rental properties, as well as having an additional business. And I'm not going to lie, I was very impressed with the results here once it pops up. And don't be afraid to get that specific. So see, we can verify the accuracy. It told us what schedules we need. We need an E, we need a C, we need the 10-4. We want to double check our calculations. So this is magic, people. If you've never seen magic sprinkled in this universe, here's some magic for you. Now, I also wanted to tell you, we wrote out our workflow. If you put that thing in Word or Excel, guess what? You can also upload it. So we're going to start from scratch. And we're going to just title this tax prep. I think that's what we're doing, right? Tax prep example. And don't judge me, I can't spell, but it's all good. And if you want a description, you can add a description. And then we have our task that we wrote out earlier. And what we're going to do is just copy these. I'm just going to highlight them. Control C, I'm a keyboard girl. Minimize this one. And then I am just going to control paste, and bada boom, bada bing. Another sprinkle of magic. You will see that those tasks automatically added themselves here. So while we're doing this, you can also assign roles. So say requesting documents from a client is the admin's role. I can click here and give that to a role. So what this does is allows you to build your workflows and automations based off of roles, not individuals. So say if you have someone who is an admin now, but they've expressed to you that they want to grow into the bookkeeper role. When you add them as a team member, you can just simply change their role, and this task will then generate the responsible person based off of their role, not the individual. So this is a great feature as your business starts to grow and scale. Now, if we wanted to add additional information, subtasks, we could totally do that here. Just click on this actual task. You can add a description. You can add additional subtasks. There are even tags you can add. So if we had a tag where we say we want, once this tag is completed, is that the is ready. It's the client info has been received. So we can save this so that once it's done, it'll add that tag and it'll let the team know we can start working on this. You can assign a due date constraint. So if you want this to be completed within 2 days after the project starts, you can set that as well. So it shows up 2 days afterwards, which is awesome, right? Some built-in automations. And this is the kind of stuff I like, because remember I said our goal was to get a tax return done within 3 weeks. So we needed to have our processes tight on what had to be done and in what time period for us to be able to get that out the door. All right, so once we have this all set up, there is an opportunity here for you to add a budget, and that budget is based off of hours. So if we feel like, a tax prep should only take, no more than 20 hours, we can say that. And then for the billing rates, you set those up per your team members. And so as we're doing those time tracking, which I'll show you how that works in a minute, you can start seeing, how much is this project profitable? All right, now I'm just going to go ahead and save this project. Save it. And then we're going to go back to our projects. And I wanted to show you a project that I've already set up for an 1120 tax return for First Step Accounting, because one of my favorite features here in Financial Sense is actually receiving documents from our clients. So this was a big struggle for our firm, and I know it's been a big struggle for firms nationwide, is how do you automate and streamline that document collection process? And so Financial Sense in every project, and you can add this to your templates, has this client task feature. Now, how do you set it up? You add the task. So you saw my Word document. One thing I did this year was create a list of documents we tend to receive from our tax clients, so our admin coordinator would know what documents we were looking for. And when we created our task, we just basically copied and pasted these document types as tasks for our clients. And if we don't need them, we can delete. So like, for example, if this is a 1120 tax return, I may not need the 1099, so I'll delete this task. Now, once the tasks have been added and you want to let your clients know that they need to get us some stuff, you can manage this notifications by just going over here. And we can send this reminder that we need these things, and we can set it to automatically remind the client if they don't complete the task within so many days. So I can say, I want to remind them every 4 days until they do the daggone thing. And I found that this worked really, really well for our firm this year. It helped me really cut down on having to have that back and forth with my clients about what we need, when you're going to get it to me. And then they're saying, what do you need again? Because we had it all in one place. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like on the client end, because that's what I always want to see. I don't know about you, but I always want to see that. So the client will get an email, and the email will say, Sharam has requested these documents from you, and here's the documents. And then you just basically click this view and manage tasks. Once you're done that, this is what the client sees. And they can just click a button and attach a document, so it'll open the files on their computer. So let's just give Sharam a pretty picture of myself. And then we're going to check that off as done. I can also, if I needed to, as a client, send a message, hey, when will this be completed? Right here. And then we can communicate with this client back and forth. So in the task now, I go back over to the task. I'm going to refresh the screen. And if I go over to client task, you will see that this has now been checked off and the document is right here. Isn't that awesome? And then the client chat also lives here too, so I can reply to the clients. It will be done in a few days. Is document sharing secure? I'm going to let Sharam answer that question. I do also want to highlight that Financial Sense does have a client portal where clients can upload documents. I, however, use a different client portal or a different sharing place, and you do have the ability to also customize where you want your clients to upload documents. So if you are currently using something like Dropbox or Drive or ShareFile, and you want your clients to upload to those locations instead, you do have that option. So all you need to do is add that upload URL, and you can change the text that displays here. So hopefully that answers your question, but again, I'll let Sharam speak to the security. But I do know that they have a high-level security, data security plan. I've seen it. I'm super impressed with it. All right, so now that's how we can collaborate with our clients to get those documents shared back and forth. We have easy access to them right here, and the person who is responsible for that work can get started. Here we go. We're going to start tracking some time, and we can start tracking that time, choosing the client, the project, and we can choose one of the tasks that are assigned. So we're going to start preparing the business tax return. If there were some, here we go, tax returns. It's $30 an hour, it's billable work. If we needed to add some notes, we could totally do that. And then the timer will begin. So I know that somebody asked about those timer, but bada boom, bada bang, you can see it right there. And it's really easy to start the button, and you'll see the little red dot blink as the time is being calculated. And you'll also see the pause the timer and the stop the timer here. Also at a high level, you can see if there's still tasks outstanding for the client. So the client has completed one of two. We're kind of like, client, what are we waiting for here? Just give me all the things. All right. So I went over the client tasks, the comments, the files, client emails. You do also have the ability to integrate with your email system. I don't have my email connected here, so you won't be able to see it. But one beautiful feature that I also love about Financial Sense that we use with our team is that the main inbox is connected to Financial Sense. And what can happen is that we can pin an email to a particular project. So if anybody on that project needs to see it, they have access to it, and that will show up back over here in our projects. So it shows up here under client emails. And what will happen is all the responses will also show up. You can reply directly from Financial Sense as well, as long as that email is pinned. So it is an awesome, awesome, awesome tool. Okay, reports. Let's go over here to reports because we were wondering about time tracking. We want to see what the time has been for first step accounting so far. Oh, maybe because I'm still tracking the time, let's stop the timer now. Or we can just choose the project.
You'll need to select the date range.
The date, oh, is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's do the whole month. Bada boom, bada bing. There we go. And we can see the time we've spent on this project so far is 2 minutes. And we can see who spent the time and what they were doing. And at this rate, we can see there's $30 an hour. And we can start kind of really seeing what that effective hourly rate is. Amount billed, time tracked. Are we doing a good job here? We've only billed 96 cents on this job, so it seems like we're doing a good job. All right, I'm going to go to the chat to make sure we are answering questions here. Okay. All right. And I guess while I'm reading the question, Shavram, you can speak to the security of the client portal, maybe for Catherine, who had that question.
Yeah, definitely. So the client portal is secure. It was built to be a better option versus sending sensitive information or receiving sensitive information via email. So the portal is encrypted, so you can send and receive sensitive information safely. Another question I was going to answer while I'm here was Listio and Financial Sense. Someone asked about that because we do have requests and so does Listio, but we are doing a Listio integration. You know, we do offer the request feature and our users love it. It's a great way to save time and automate that process. But Listio does a lot of things we don't do on the front end. So if you're looking for a full front office management system, Listio is great because they have e-signature, you can scan documents and upload them. And they're coming out with a lot of really other great features for the full front office management, like, mass email send, and so much more. So they go deeper. We offer that functionality, but Listio, if you're really looking for a powerful tool, it's going to be really great to have that integration. So you can really have two powerful solutions for the back office and the front office of your firm.
All right, another question in here is, does Financial Sense support iframe embeds? Oh, that's so technical.
We do not. We don't. From what I know, we are releasing an open API though, where you can pull data from Financial Sense and with your own custom solutions. I did see a question, Nayo, about recurring projects. Someone asked if you can set projects to recur, and if you haven't completed a project, will it generate the next month?
The answer is yes.
It's a big part of what we do. A lot of accountants have a lot of recurring work. Now you've talked about efficiencies and automations, and the last thing you want to do is recreate the same work every week and every month. So it's definitely a key feature.
And I'll show you when I'll set up a project from a template, and I'll set up a monthly bookkeeping project, or let's do weekly reconciliation. So we'll do it for one client. We'll choose first step accounting again, the start date. Let's say we want it the 1st and we want to do by the 24th, and it recurs. You have this option every week, every 2 weeks, every month. So we'll do every week, and this we can have this as month. The accounting period we can set, and we'll apply that and say it's for June. And then if we have internal due dates, or if we wanted to extend it because, sometimes stuff happens where we give our internal staff a little grace, and then who's reviewing it, any billing rates and service items we can add here. And because this has a bookkeeper as the signee, we can select all of the staff, any of the staff that fall into that category. We'll assign myself and create that new task. Bada boom, bada bing, it's here, and it will reoccur again in a week. But yes, I did see someone ask, can you add notes to a project? Can you make projects, do they recur? Yes, monthly bookkeeping. That the answer is yes. We use that for our firm and we do monthly bookkeeping, but we also have weekly bookkeeping. Every once in a while, we'll have issues where my clients, their bank accounts won't connect to QBO, it'll disconnect, and we'll have those 2 weeks that we have to do back to back because the client has to go in and reconnect. So I know this personally that it does that. And then there are the resources here for the project. I know I saw that in the chat or the Q&A. You can add resources for each project, not just for the clients. So that's also very helpful too, if you wanted to add the SOP for that particular type of project right here in the actual project for the client. We answered this live about the weekly. Okay, thanks. All right. We got a couple minutes left. I love it. Oh, we're asking about foreign languages. French. I had French in high school. Parlez-vous français? Oui, je parle français. Je m'appelle Nayo.
That's about as much as I know.
That's about as much as I remember.
So while we have some questions coming in, and we're ending up in the last 5 minutes, I'm gonna push a poll. So if anyone is interested in actually using, and Nayo, were you done? Was there anything else you wanted to cover?
Nope, those were like all my main features. If there was anything anybody else wanted to see, I am happy to show it off.
Okay, perfect. So keep dropping the questions in the chat and the Q&A. We'll get to them. But I want to go ahead and push this poll. What this poll is, if you are actually interested in learning more about Financial Sense or potentially using it in your firm, I'm going to launch this poll so we can take note of that and we can reach out to you, post the webinar just to share more information that you may be interested in. Also, one other thing, we do have another webinar coming up next month. If you guys are interested in, you can go ahead and I'm going to send the link for you guys to register. It's with actually one of our customers, and she's going to be talking about how she set up Financial Sense for success. So how she actually set it up to where her team could use it and they could successfully use the app and share a lot of great tips, just like you heard in this webinar, but a little bit from a different angle, more just like helping her team and getting that full adoption across the board. So feel free to click that link and sign up to that webinar, which I just dropped into the chat if you're interested in that. But we can go to questions. So let's see. And yeah, if you're going to be at Scaling New Heights, come see us. Me and Nayo will both be there. It's going to be a fun.
So will Kelly Parks, who's here in the chat. You get to come to the booth to see Kelly. She's the bomb.com. I did see a question. I'm going to share my screen again while you all are answering the poll. There was a question about whether or not you can add the client task to the template. The answer is yes. So I'm under the template, say it's a 1040 return, and I want to upload all of those documents. And this is actually something we did do in my firm. We took that Word document and kind of converted it over into Financial Sense. So if I wanted to say upload W-2s, we have all the documents listed. If we needed to add a description, because the big one that we always get is for that residency information, right? You'll need to claim. We put all of those details right in the task. So, and then I add the description, and the description includes all of those fun things. What's included in the documentation? Uh-oh. And the client gets to see it. So this was a big holdup for us, the residency information. And so this saved us a bunch of time this year. We're so happy. So happy. And then, you could add comments. Oh, the other piece is clients can comment directly on the task. So they can comment on the task overall, but if they wanted to comment directly on this one item, like we don't have this, or I don't know why this popped up. We don't this is not a thing for us, they can tell us too. So it's it was very, very helpful for my firm. Oh,
Perfect. Well, looks like we've answered all the questions. And if you guys do have any other questions about financial sense or anything on this webinar, you can go to our website, reach out to our team. We can answer them if we didn't get to them here or we missed them for some reason. I'm going to close the poll in the next 10 seconds. So if you haven't voted, feel free to vote. But other than that, yeah, this has been a great webinar. Thank you, Nayo, so much for doing this.
you can sign up for your 14-day free trial right here, financialsense.com.
Yeah, if you guys are interested, we're going to reach out, but you can go to the website, do a free trial. It's 14 days free. All the features are included. You can test it out for your firm, get a feel for what it's like and see if it's a good fit for you. But our team will also be reaching out if you guys have any questions.
Yay.
Okay. Thanks everyone for joining. Nayo, it was great to have you. Really great topic. And I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yay. Thanks for having me.